What? Iran is mentioned in the Quran? That's unbelievable. This blows my mind, and I want to talk with you about that. Right now, Iran is making sad headlines. That's really unfortunate, extremely sad. We have to pray for these people. Actually, we have to pray for all the victims of wars and atrocities around the world. So many victims. This is terrible. And I have compassion and sympathy for all these people. But we are not here to talk about politics. We are here to talk about the Bible and the Quran. When did the Quran mention Iran? In Surah Al-Kahf, we find somebody called Dhul al-Qarnayn. Let me read some of the verses talking about him. Actually, this is 16 verses. We just read some of them. And they ask you about Dhul al-Qarnayn. Say, I will relate to you some of his notable deeds. Indeed, we established his power on earth, and we granted him full authority over all things. Then the Quran says how this power goes to the west, to the east, conquers countries, and at the end, some people ask him to do something. These people are the victims of another power called Ya'juj wa Ma'juj. And these powers are causing chaos on earth, verse 94. And they ask Dhul al-Qarnayn, can we pay you tribute so that you may build a barrier between them, Ya'juj Ma'juj, and us? And he said, Dhul al-Qarnayn, what my Lord has granted me is better than your gifts. So help me with your strength, and I will build a barrier between you and them. And in the end, this power says, this is a mercy from my Lord. When the promise of my Lord comes, he will level it, and the promise of my Lord is true. That's very interesting because this power is a mercy from God and is led by God. Let's keep that in mind. Ya'juj and Ma'juj is referred to as Gog and Magog in the West. But who is this Dhul al-Qarnayn? The word means the one with two horns. In my Quran here from Saudi Arabia, it is said that these two horns mean two powers. A king uniting two powers. A powerful king. Because the Quran says we established his power on earth. We gave him free reign over all things. He travels westward, eastwards, and then he reaches different people. He rules over them. He protects them. And he builds a barrier against Gog and Magog. Now his identity remains a matter of debate. Most people think this is Alexander the Great. But I believe that's not the case. Why? Because the Bible speaks about the same power but gives us many more details. As you know, the Quran makes allusion to many powers, to many names, but without any further explanation. But the Quran says, we have given Musa the book and the Furqan so that you might be guided. In other words, if you read the Bible, this will explain you what the Quran just mentions in a nutshell. And that's why in Yunus 94 it is said, if you are in doubt about what we have revealed to you, ask those who have recited the Bible before you. The truth comes from your Lord. So do not be among those who doubt. When we open the Bible, we find answers to many things that are not explained in the Quran. Like here, in the book of Daniel. The book of Daniel is very interesting because it's written in Iran. And when you go to the city of Susa in Iran, where Daniel used to live, there's a mausoleum of Daniel, a grave if you want. And on that grave, there's a writing from Ali. Ali, the cousin of Muhammad, his son-in-law, one of the leading figures of Islam, the fourth caliph, and for the Shiite, of course, the leader of Islam. And Ali says in that mausoleum, "Whoever honors my brother Daniel honors me." This shows how important Daniel should be for Muslims. Let's read a couple of verses from Daniel chapter 8. "I looked up and saw a ram standing by the river, and it had horns. These horns were tall. One was taller than the other, but the taller one had grown later." So Daniel has a vision here with a power with two horns. If you want to translate that into Arabic, Dhul Arkanain. Same name. Two powers, not the same level. Let's go back to that a little bit further. "I saw the ram striking with its horns toward the west, the north, and the south." Same like in the Quran, this power goes into several directions. "No animal could stand against it, and no one could rescue the victims from its power. It did as it pleased and grew powerful." In verse 20, it is said, "The ram you saw with the two horns represent the kings of the Medes and the Persians." The Medes are the Kurds. In the Turkish language, the Kurds are called Medler, the Medes, and the Persians are the Iranians. Two people who are related with each other, not Arabs, not Turks, but Indo-Europeans, speaking similar languages. Even in West Iran, you have a huge province called Kurdistan. And these people united to conquer in the west Lydia, the city of Sardis today in Turkey, the east, the south, everything around the city of Babylon. But in 539, Cyrus the Great, Cyrus II, conquered the city of Babylon and the empire of Babylon. How did he do that? Cyrus was fully aware that the city of Babylon would not be easy to conquer. 40 meters high wall, a huge city, well protected. But he knew that there was a lake, an artificial lake actually, close to the city of Babylon. And not far away, the Euphrates was flowing, went into the city and out of the city. And he decided to take the water from the Euphrates and bring it into the lake. And his soldiers were posted at the beginning of the city and at the end of the city where the water flows in and out. And as soon as the water would be gone, the Euphrates would be dried up, the soldiers would come into the city from both sides and overtake that city. And that's exactly what happened. History records that, and the Bible records that. In one night, the huge city of Babylon was gone. In Daniel chapter 5, it is said that the co-regent, the regent Nabonid, was hunting somewhere. He didn't like to be a king, actually. He was in today's Saudi Arabia all the time. He was not in Babylon. But the co-regent called Belshazzar was in a night being a big party with women, with wine, with a blaspheming God. And suddenly, the Bible says in Daniel chapter 5 that he saw a hand writing on the wall, Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. Belshazzar didn't know what it meant. He asked all his people around. Nobody knew, but there was an old man called Daniel. The prophet Daniel was here, and he could explain the meaning of the writing. Mene, Mene, you have been weighed by God, and you are not heavy enough. Tekel and Upharsin, your kingdom will be divided and given to the Persians. The text continues saying, in the same night, Darius the Mede took over Babylon. Darius, Cyrus, Koresh, depends on the translation you use. In another part of the Bible, in the Old Testament, the book of Isaiah, Isaiah 40 to 46, 7 chapters are dedicated to that King Cyrus. I wish we could read all the text, but the interesting thing is that this king is under God's guidance. God will protect him, God will help him, the same we have in the Quran. God will bring him to dry up the water, to come into Babylon and to bring the city to fall. He would deliver the captives that were in Babylon, the Jews and other nations, bring them back home, rebuild their cities, he and the kings after him. That's what the book of Isaiah says. The New Testament, the Injil, says in the book of Revelation that one day, at the end of the time, before the day of judgment, the Euphrates will be dried up so that the kings of the east can come into Babylon, and that will bring Babylon to fall. God's people will be free and go back home. Where is home? Paradise. Why do I say paradise? Because in the New Testament, we're not talking about a historical Babylon that doesn't exist anymore, but about a spiritual Babylon. By the way, the Quran speaks in one text about Babylon. Let's read it. They followed what the devils told them about Solomon's reign. Sylvain. It was not Solomon who disbelieved, but the devils, Shaitanina. They taught people sorcery as well as what had been revealed to the two angels in Babylon, Harut and Marut. But these two never taught anyone anything without saying, "We are but a temptation, so do not be an unbeliever." So this passage about Babylon treats about sorcery, witchcraft, as a try for humanity. We don't know who these two angels are. Some hadith and some mufassiru have tried to explain that. But what's interesting is that Babylon is a house of witchcraft, a spiritual power. Back to the book of Revelation in the Bible. It is said that Babylon has fallen, but she has become a dwelling place for demons, a haunt for every unclean spirit, a haunt for every unclean and detestable bird. For all the nations have drunk the wine of the fury of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have grown rich through the excess of her luxury. Babylon is depicted as a housing of all evil powers of the end time, including political powers, economical powers, and all the inhabitants of the earth are in that system of Babylon, like a huge prison. But the Bible said this system will fall. It will fall the same way Babylon fell 539 before Christ through the hands of the Medes and the Persians. The only difference is that in the end time, we're talking about a spiritual power. It's not just about a war. Maybe war is part of that. Maybe what happens right now in Iran would help the whole system of Babylon to collapse. I don't know. We'll see that. But what is sure is that God has everything in his hand. As he had King Cyrus, the king of Iran, in his hands, in the same way, he today has his strategy to bring the whole human demonic system to fall and then bring the day of judgment. I wish this will happen very soon. And we can say, Assalamu alaikum. Peace be with us forever. Don't forget to write your comments if you want to have more information about the historical records of the fall of Babylon at that time, or the text of Isaiah, or your questions. You're welcome.